Hello again, John Wild here to give you another look at vintage action figures, and this time we're going to look at LJN's 16-inch scale Rowdy Roddy Piper from 1985. So in 1985, LJN Toys gave us this really large-scale Rowdy Roddy Piper figure, and he's really considerably different from all of the other Rowdy Roddy Piper figures that came out in 1985. Let's take a look at the other figures of Rowdy Roddy Piper. So here we have 3 different Rowdy Roddy Piper figures that were created by LJN between 1984 and 1985, and they all have one thing in common. They're all made of rubber. Now, let's take a look at each one of these figures individually. Let's begin by looking at the smallest of the Rowdy Roddy Piper figures, and this is the thumb wrestler variant of a Rowdy Roddy Piper figure. Again, he's got his Hot Rod t-shirt. He does not come with a kilt. He has red wrestling trunks on, which was kind of a common theme with the LJN figures. They didn't get the trunk color correct. Piper, I'm not saying he never wore red trunks, but he definitely wasn't wearing red trunks at this point in time in his wrestling career. We turn the figure around, we can see that he has a hole in his back, and that would be for you to put your thumb into for thumb wrestling. So here we have the bendy style wrestling figure. These were made in a 4-inch scale. There's a little bit more detail on this figure. As you can see, they outline the hot rod on his shirt like the larger scale figure. He's got a little bit of silver paint on his belt buckle. Again, he's wearing red trunks, which is, you know, kind of a common theme going through here. He has his white t-shirt, and he is posed in a similar style to the larger 8-inch scale style of figure. So let's take a look at that figure next. So here we have the largest of the rubber Rowdy Roddy Piper figures, and it's probably the figure that most of us remember from our childhoods. Yep, this is the Rowdy Piper figure that everybody had when we were kids. So he came with a cloth kilt, and he is painted almost exactly the same as all of the Roddy Piper figures. He's got a white t-shirt, he's got red wrestling trunks, he's got a black belt with a silver belt buckle. He does come with a kilt, and again, his boots and his knee pads are both painted in red. So here he is. Those are the different rubber variants of Rowdy Roddy Piper figures from LJN. So here we have the less common 16-inch variety of Rowdy Roddy Piper created by LJN. And this figure is unique because he actually does articulate, and he's really not made of rubber, he's made of plastic. So let's take a look at all the features of this figure. So starting at the top of the figure, let's take a look at the head sculpt. And it really isn't all that bad for 1985. The larger scale allowed LJN to put a little bit more detail into Roddy's face. Is it perfect Roddy Piper? Absolutely not. Is it great for a vintage line figure? Yes, I love it. So he has a little bit of paint detail, which is kind of nice. His hair is painted in brown, has very good detail. The cut is over the top of the ears, which is classic Roddy Piper haircut. His eyes are painted, and sometimes they have a tendency to look crossed. This isn't too bad. You know, it's not great, but it's great for what it is, a vintage figure. His teeth are painted in. He's got a nice smirk, and is definitely a very good representation of Rowdy Roddy Piper. So moving down the figure, we have his classic hot rod t-shirt. Now, what makes this not look exactly like a Roddy Piper t-shirt is that it doesn't have the red piping around the neck and the arms. Obviously, for cost, they didn't do that. The printing on the t-shirt is a little bit off too. It's a little crooked, but it is definitely the Hot Rod logo that Roddy Piper wore during his WWF run. It's a nice t-shirt. It's absolutely t-shirt material. Feels just like a t-shirt. It is removable, and it would have been a nice accessory for this figure. Moving down to the middle of the figure, we see Rowdy Roddy Piper's belt, and it is a great accessory. Looks awesome on the figure. So it's got a little bit of silver detail on it, and if you look closely, you can actually see there's leather detail on the belt. If I turn the figure around and take a look at the back, it just straps like a regular belt, just snaps together, and is a very solid accessory. Below the belt, we find Rowdy Roddy Piper's kilt. Is it the color that Rowdy Roddy Piper normally wore for a kilt? Absolutely not. No, it's not the usual red and white stripes. There's a little bit of blue detail in it, a little bit of yellow. But is it a kilt? Absolutely. Does it represent a kilt very well? It most certainly does. The material is very thick, and it's actually a very, very nice kilt for the figure. Great accessory, I have to say. And again, this just straps on the back with a Velcro. So, unlike all of the other Rowdy Roddy Piper figures that LJN created between 84 and 85, this Roddy Piper has the correct color of his wrestling trunks, blue. Moving down to the bottom of the figure, we have the wrestling boots and we have the knee pads. Now the knee pads are painted blue, which is unusual because all the other Rowdy Piper figures have red knee pads. This figure has a blue knee pad. He's got red wrestling boots on. Roddy had a tendency to wear a black or kind of a beige boot. The detail on the boots are incredible. Look, all the laces are in there. Look very, very great as a wrestling boot. Good detail on the boot. Sculpting is very, very nice. The only thing that's missing is his RP that's on the side of his boot. Now they sculpted the RP in the small scale figure that was in that variant, but for some reason the big guy, he didn't get the RP on the boot. This figure has two different hand sculpts, which are really kind of cool, and they're unique. They're very neatly sculpted. So he's kind of got a grappling hold here on his right. His fingernails are sculpted into the hands, and on his left hand he's kind of got a point finger, would he be pointing at Hulk Hogan or whoever he was going to be wrestling. He's got the tape at the wrists, and they're very nice looking hands. Also, unlike all the other LJN wrestling figures of Rowdy Roddy Piper, this figure is articulated, so he can articulate at the head, he can move his head left and right, he can move at the arms, at the shoulders, up and down, both arms, and he also can move at the legs. His legs will move out, back and forth. So there you had a good look at the LJN 16-inch Rowdy Roddy Piper figure. It is a really nice figure, and it was funny because I was reminded of this figure recently when I was watching some YouTube and saw one of the old matches and saw the camera goes out to the crowd and there's a kid holding up this figure from the crowd, and I thought, man, I don't remember that figure. I don't remember that figure from when I was a kid. The only one I remembered was the Rubber Wrestler. So doing a little bit of searching around on eBay and stuff, I found that they did produce this figure, and I'm telling you, I'm so happy to have it in my collection. He did come in a kind of like a window box. I'll put up a picture of what the window box looks like now. You can see that the window box was very similar to the other wrestling superstar figures that came out in the smaller scale. Definitely this price point on this figure would have been a little bit higher than the smaller scale figures, but definitely the articulation and the detail in this larger scale figure makes him well worth his while. Now they only made 2 figures in this big scale. They made the Rowdy Roddy Piper, and they also made a Hulk Hogan too. Hogan came with his regular t-shirt and a wrestling belt, so the accessories are virtually the same, other than Piper has one extra one with the kilt. So if you get a chance, find this figure. It's a great wrestling figure. Looks very, very good, very awesome on a display shelf. I can't say enough about it. It's an awesome figure. Go out there and get it. So here we have all of the Rowdy Roddy Piper figures that LJN created all together. Impressive sight, great display. Hey, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to catch my latest uploads. And until next time, you don't throw rocks at a man with a machine gun!